Well, hello, NFT NYC community, and welcome to another conversation. Hope you're joining us April 12th to the 14th at NFT NYC because we have 1,500 incredible people coming to share, 2,000 artists, so many things to look forward to. But one of the things I'm looking forward to is learning from people that don't just build virtual worlds, but also play them. And that's something that's very unique about you, my friend. You're not just the builder, you're not just the gamer, you really embody both of these things. And we'd love to learn from you and a bit about what has you passionate today. So can you please introduce yourself and give us a little background on what you do in the gaming and virtual world environment?
Sure. So glad to be here. So I'm a game producer by day, and I'm a digital artist at night. I've worked at many big companies like Zynga, Ubisoft, but also smaller ones like in indie developers in general. And I think that I'm most interested in different forms of storytelling, really. And that's why I make video games, because it's interactive storytelling. But I'm also interested in different forms like video, or like writing stories or creating art. And today, in the space of NFTs and Web3, I feel like there's a space to do a little bit of all of that together. And that's where I'm at. It's like this mix of everything to tell the story, and that's what really is exciting for me.
So you mentioned, of course, creating virtual worlds, playing virtual worlds, and also being an artist. Can you tell us a bit about how you differentiate yourself as an individual human artist and creative that's different than how you differentiate yourself in your career as a game developer and a digital artist in building virtual worlds? How are those two things separate, and how are they interconnected?
Yeah, I think the main difference for me is, so when I create games, right, it's we try to touch a very wide audience. We're talking about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of players for some of the games I've worked on. And you always want to try to create something for the player, but at the end of the day, it's still a wide audience, so it can never be too personal. And the difference between this, where you're creating a world for a large audience, and what I'm doing now, when my artist journey, let's say, is that I can talk to the people much more closely, like a one-to-one, having a personal connection with them, with the holders, or with people that are interested to know more about what I do. And the interactive piece comes from me asking them. Let's say I'm creating an artwork. The interactive piece will come from me asking them, how do you want your character, your NFT, your this or that to be portrayed in the image, and what type of a quirk your NFT may have. It's kind of like an exchange that I don't really have when I create games for much bigger audiences.
Mm. When you work on games for massive audiences, like with Zynga, compared to if you're working on a game that maybe is new, it's a startup, or maybe it's a new development in a larger institution where you have to start from zero in terms of the gamers onboarding, how do you approach these things differently as a virtual world builder, as a game developer, when you already have an existing community of millions, maybe tens of millions of people, compared to one that you're getting ready to onboard a brand new community to?
I think the main difference is that having like this huge audience already at your fingertips, let's say if you work for something like, for a company like Zynga, is that it facilitates getting the game into people's hands, and they kind of know your franchises, they know the genres that you're creating. It's good, but at the same time, I like the excitement of the challenge of creating something new and having to go reach other people, having to teach them maybe about the new mechanics or the new systems. Any Web3 game, for example, is very foreign to a lot of people, even in the space. So there's pros and cons, and for me, there's definitely an interest in just trying to see what the best new ways are to actually bring people in into the domain that I know.
Your talk is going to be on the power of derivative art. Maybe you could start by just clearly defining what is derivative NFT art, and then maybe you could share with us a little preview, like what might we anticipate learning from you during your talk that's on the main stage Friday afternoon.
For sure. So derivative art, in the simplest terms, is taking a piece of art that is or any piece of IP really that is already established. Usually, you'll do something out of an IP that is well known, and then creating a different version of it, a modified version of it. Some people call it remix art, or just any sort of way that you can modify the original source and derive from it. Hence the name derivative art. And in my case, I've always been interested in seeing how you can benefit from all the fans from the original IP, all the love that this original brand or IP may have, and see if you can maybe create something new from something that exists. That's something that's really exciting to me. And in the space of NFTs, there's so much room for derivative art. That's why I love to talk about it and try to onboard people into this world.
My favorite text to image AI demo was a mod. I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, we were at a conference together, and I remember watching him do it. And I'm like, oh, this guy knows how to dance to the music. This is a good demo. 6 months later, Midjourney becomes the fastest growing, most important Discord channel in the world. They're now on V5. We have Chat GPT take the world by storm. Now they just laid out GPT-4, which is wildly more powerful. You have things like Stability and Stable Diffusion doing not just text to image, but some very, very powerful video development as well. And then I think a week and a half ago, I believe it was, about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, the government institution, I think it's a copyright office or something like that, they said, you no longer can own these things that you're creating unless you do something to change it or narrate it. So does that tie to derivative NFT art, kind of this idea of remixing? You go and you put prompts in, you get something kicked out, but it's still your responsibility to add a 1% or a 99% remix to kind of make it a derivative piece of art that's not just you putting a prompt in, but you actually co-creating something in that regard, so that you do have the copyright protection, so you do have the ability to monetize it freely. Maybe you could give us a little insight if what you're talking about with the power of derivative NFT art is tied directly to some of these new opportunities around text to image and leveraging these AI tools.
Yeah, absolutely. I always think of AI, whether it's ChatGPT or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion and whatnot, as tools, right? It's like a pen, but on steroids. And you want to be able to use that tool to create something, but at the same time, you want to tweak it a little bit. I think that it's still possible to create something right out of the tool and say, this is something that I created. But I understand why the government would say, hey, you have to tweak it, you have to make it your own. And since I do derivative art and I advocate about derivative art, I'm also in line with that. Like, I get both views, but I'll never say to someone, look, you created a little prompt in Midjourney and the image is not your own because the computer made it. I think that in order to get to this prompt that created this image, oftentimes you need to think about what you're going to say, how you're going to say it. It's like there's a craft to it. So while I personally always tweak the things that I create because I want to go beyond, I also respect the ones that just go straight out of the magic box.
Well, I think one thing that's interesting is they did give a provision to narrate, which allows them to be the prompt inputter and to take the thing and to say, I don't want to change a thing about this. This is exactly what I want. But if I narrate against it, then I'm adding another layer of customization that allows it to be mine. So I was grateful that they put that in because I think it gives people a chance to not have to be a Photoshop artist or even know how to use Canva necessarily. They can just do a prompt and they can still have some way of making it their own. I'm going to share my screen again and make sure everybody is aware of exactly when you're speaking. So everybody in the NFT NYC community, come join us. Main stage, Friday at 12 p.m., the power of derivative NFT art. And maybe you could tell us before we wrap up this conversation, who do you want to meet, right? Like, who should come to your talk? and then come up to you afterwards and engage with you? Who should, when they see you walking by Wednesday, Thursday before your talk, who should come grab you and say, hey, I heard that you wanted to meet people that are in this world. I'd love to connect with you. Who are you looking to connect with?
The reality is maybe it's going to be a bit of a cop-out answer, but anyone who's in the space, who's curious about, one, how can you take your NFTs or all of your JPEGs to the next level by creating a world around them? How can you use derivative art as a way to expand over that? But also brands or like people who are or artists in general who want to take it to the next level. Maybe they're stuck in their own little style, which is great, but they want to experiment with something new. And because I'm a game producer by trade, right, and anyone who's about gaming in general and how to take your art or your create derivatives out of gaming, always curious to talk to them as well.
It's wonderful. Well, thank you for jumping in with me today. And thank you for being part of our program once again. We're always happy to make space on the stage for you and your voice and your intelligence. And we recognize the great things that you're doing in this space and see you as a leader that others should listen to and collaborate with. So thank you for being with me once again.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. For anybody that watched our conversation, thank you for your attention. I'll be back again soon with another conversation like this.